Hey, we're on our way down to Beverly Hills for Blu-Con 2.0. On this special episode, we've got a keynote from Martin Scorsese, a first-hand look at Panasonic's 3D HDTV technology, and will streaming video be replacing Blu-ray anytime soon? All that plus the Blu-ray releases for the week of November 10th, 2009. This is HD Nation.
HD Nation.
Today's episode is brought to you by Gamefly, Squarespace, and GoDaddy.com.
I'm Patrick Norton.
And I'm Robert Herron.
Welcome to HD Nation. Obviously, something different. It's a special edition. We are down in Los Angeles, California, the Beverly Hilton, a strange place for us, at Blu-Con. Mr. Herron, what's a Blu-Con?
Blu-Con 2.0 is the second annual event that brings together not only the people that own the content, but the people that distribute it and author it and test it. Anything and everything to do with Blu-ray content and discs themselves is right here or being discussed.
Yeah, actually, and it's even beyond that. It's people who are dealing with Blu-ray Live, creating for BD Live. Actually, it was kind of interesting. Some of the people who are bringing streaming media to you, for example, you may be familiar with Blockbuster On Demand, Netflix was out here. The whole industry, including the studios, are all gathering together to talk about where Blu-ray's at, where it's going, and it looks like they're going to be doing this every year moving forward.
Very cool. Very cool.
One of the big things we talked about today is sort of the statistics, the analysis. A lot of headlines lately are talking about how Blu-ray's dead, man, because we're all streaming media into our homes. We're going to talk some more about the panel that was talking about streaming media. Let's take a moment to talk to somebody who sells a whole lot of Blu-ray equipment into a whole lot of homes. Executive Vice President, Best Buy, Tom Patel has, well, I'll let him speak in his own words. All right, we got a chance to talk to Mike Vitelli. He's the Executive VP over at Best Buy. Why do you care? A couple of reasons. One, they're the last place standing to go to buy consumer electronics. Two, he controls what goes into Magnolia. And three, they have a huge impact on the industry. Mike, what's the biggest challenge you see for consumer adoption on Blu-ray?
What we're seeing is when consumers find out about Blu-ray and how wonderful the HD technology is, they've actually got to make a decision of where they're going to watch the film. Because right now, Blu-ray fundamentally is home locked. You can watch it on your home theater. It's a terrific, wonderful experience. That's our message that we delivered today was we need a standardized, affordable, portable solution. And I think with that, Blu-ray can actually take off into the inflection point that we saw in VHS and DVD years ago.
So after portability, you said consumer confusion. People are back and forth, do I need DVD, do I need HD? How do you continue to sort of raise awareness or drive Blu-ray?
And we asked for that too. We're ready to do that. The industry's got to do it collectively. So we have Blu-ray in our insert every week. 50 million copies go out, and it's in there in some way, shape, or form. But there needs to be television, there needs to be public relations and other things like we're doing now that are reaching the masses. And I get the sense that the industry is ready to do that.
Now you said though, Blu-ray, I mean there's been a lot of doom and gloom around Blu-ray sales lately. People talk a lot about streaming online. You know, online streaming seems to be in a minor subset of households at this point. You said Blu-ray disc or Blu-ray disc player sales were up 112% year over year?
Yeah, it was a relatively modest starting point, a couple of million units last year after the format war was over. But yeah, it's running at more than 100% growth versus last year. It's one of the hottest categories in our store. So the opportunity is there. It is the format, when you come to buy a DVD player today, it is the format of choice. It's backwards compatible, it'll play DVD, it'll play Blu-ray, and a lot of them have Ethernet connection that lets you go out and get free and paid content that way. So it's a pretty all-around device.
You said around 10 million Blu-ray players at the end of 2009, 18 million at the end of 2010. How's that going to impact availability of discs and prices at that point?
It's like everything else. When you have a huge installed base, it helps. Pretty much everything is released. New releases all come out on Blu-ray. When there's that kind of installed base where you have 20, 30 million, they'll start releasing catalog that way. And then obviously with those kind of volumes, it'll help prices come down. Yeah.
You mentioned an announcement went out this morning. You didn't mention it in you actually talked in your speech this morning about the plethora of digital delivery options. And now Best Buy is partnering with Cinema Now. Is that going to be beyond Insignia, or where is that going to show up?
We believe as we get our plans put together, it'll show as many places as we can have it. We want to have a digital solution for our customer base. We have a physical solution, we want a digital solution. Cinema now gives us the technology to do that without us trying to build it ourselves.
One last question before we go. The Magnolia Centers are an amazing place to experience home theater, because most of the big box stores that are left is just a rack of televisions on a shelf. Are you going to be pushing those into all of the Best Buy locations, or is that still pretty
Probably
select?
not. There's over 400 of them, and they're positioned where markets will spend the money that's presented in that environment. If markets change, and we do this all the time with our stores, if a market changes and the demographics of a market change, certainly we can do that. But you want to place those stores, and we think we did, in markets where the products that are there are accessible to those customers.
Any last messages for people out there looking to buy Blu-ray this year?
This is the best time in the world to be a consumer.
Awesome.
Whether you're buying a car, a house, or consumer electronics, it's a great time to buy if you're in the market.
So go spend this Christmas.
That's right.
Thank you so much,
Take
Mike.
care. Good to see you.
Now, obviously, the man, he's Best Buy. He wants to sell home theater gear, so he is very, very bullish, but still saying, you know what, portability is an issue. The idea that people, they don't want to just buy a Blu-ray and have it locked into the house, but they want to be able to take it to the minivan with the kids or move it around. Portability was going to be critical. So, you also had a pretty good reality check talking to a guy named Tom Adams. What did he have to say?
Tom Adams, president of Adams Media Research, he basically gives me the lowdown on why DVD is slowly going away and why Blu-ray has the potential right now to take off. And it basically provides, like you mentioned, a good reality check for the state of Blu-ray.
Joining me at the Blucon 2.0 conference is Tom Adams. He's the president of Adams Media Research, and I had a few questions to ask him about Blu-ray technology and how it relates to consumers. Tom, could you talk about, it seems like a lot of people are aware of Blu-ray technology, but familiarity with it in terms of getting their hands on it seems to be one of the big issues people are dealing with.
Yeah, absolutely, and you have to see it to want it. It's relatively soon after most people adopted DVD, so you really have to show it to them to make them think about buying it. But at the same time, the intent to buy numbers are up, even despite the recession. Prices are down. We're going to go from 3 million to 9 million homes with a dedicated player, plus all the PlayStation homes. So it's happening.
In terms of, also saw some numbers suggesting that most people who have networked homes are not necessarily networking, they're networkable players.
People don't know from networks. The whole idea that Blu-ray is a transition technology to network delivery is just crazy in my view. We're talking about a $22 billion package media business and $400 million digital delivery business at this point. So it's many, many years till people are connected and getting their movies that way.
Does that imply then too that digital download technologies as well are lagging because of those kind of issues?
Well, yeah, the issues are that nobody needs a download unless you can get it to my TV. Even when you get it to my TV, if I don't have complete use of the file from there ever after, I'm not going to buy it. I might rent some, but they've already shown that with cable video on demand, which is $1 billion business, finally, that they won't rent a lot of them. So what people want to do is build collections of movies at home that they can watch on all their machines for the rest of their lives. So that that buy once, watch it forever proposition is a long way from coming true. Whereas for Blu-ray, it's already true for DVD and will be for Blu-ray.
And some of the stats indicated that DVD sales are on a decline. And is that true also with Blu-ray?
No, not at all. Blu-ray's software sales are going to double this year. As I said, households are going to triple. So it's just not happening fast enough to make up for the declines in DVD. And so the overall business of selling discs is down last year and this. But the studios I think are counting on, and I think it will happen, that Blu-ray can flatten that out in the next couple of years as enough homes get a player and start consuming that way.
Tom, thank you for your time. I appreciate your insight.
You bet. Thanks.
All right, we want to take a moment to thank both Mr. Patel from Best Buy, Tom Adams, Adams Research, taking the moment to talk to us. When we come back, Martin Scorsese talking about basically bringing the theater experience into your home, where he thinks Blu-ray fits in with that. Right now, though, let's take a moment to thank one of our sponsors. Time to thank one of our sponsors, GameFly. GameFly is the largest online video game rental service and offers a choice of over 6,000 new and classic titles across all consoles and handhelds. With plans starting at $15.95 a month, GameFly members can rent 1 to 4 games at a time and keep them for as long as they like. No late fees, no due dates, and shipping is always free.
Once you're done playing a game, send it back and GameFly will send you the next available game on your list. If you really like a game you're playing, simply click Keep It on the GameFly website and the game is yours at a discounted price. GameFly will even mail you the case and manuals free of charge. As an HD Nation fan, you can get a free 2-week trial by going to www.gamefly.com/HDNation. Some restrictions apply. See the site for details. And do us a favor here at HD Nation. Support us by supporting our sponsors, like GameFly.
Do you have a favorite Martin Scorsese film?
I'm ashamed to say what Martin Scorsese films I have not seen. However, I will say that my first HD experience with a disc format was watching Goodfellas, and that was a phenomenal intro to the whole field of HD video.
It set a very, very high bar. The opening scene from that is a spectacular high-def experience. Martin Scorsese has a lot to say, obviously, about film restoration. It's a great passion. He's also a film collector from back in the days when he was basically grabbing reels wherever he could get them. But let's hear what the man has to say about home theater and where Blu-ray fits into it.
Wondering if you could maybe start out and comment a little bit on how the change in the home video technology has affected your collecting sensibilities.
Well, first of all, at this point, all the studios have really gone through a very, very strong change for the better and a transition in presenting films on home video. In the old days, when there was, first of all, there was no dream of ever having a film at home, I guess the only way, being obsessed with films, the only way to sort of try to possess a film was to buy the poster if you could afford it at the time. Then eventually, the video cassette was created. This was a remarkable thing because you can actually have a collection, like a collection of your favorite books, of the films that you like. Of course, the video cassette was very limited in its technical aspects, so that in a way you were glad at least to see it on video cassette. You could see it at home. Screens weren't as big then too, but it was the only alternative to trying to catch the film again at a repertory cinema. There were still repertory cinemas in the 70s in New York and Los Angeles and around the country, so you could probably get to see it. The problem with repertory cinemas at the time was that the prints were getting older. So what you saw, you see it on a big screen, but you may see excerpts from the shortened version of Once Upon a Time in the West, that sort of thing.
Right.
And the only thing available for the video cassette on that, I think, was a cropped version. But part of that, was a limitation in technology. But even on DVD, when DVD first came out, there was a sort of confusion with aspect ratio. For example, a major title like Bonnie and Clyde, I think, was first released full screen. I do think, you remember, I think that there were confusions with 185, which is a normal spherical widescreen, not anamorphic, and I thought they maybe considered releasing it full screen 133 was good enough, but I really don't think it was. And anyway, now the potential of the Blu-ray to replicate the original theatrical experience of seeing a film is, so far, this is the best format that I have, and I've been through 40 years of this, so the quality, the higher resolution of the high definition mastering, and really the support now of the extraordinary teams at the studios behind these remasterings. Blu-ray now offers the ability to see the film as close as it was meant to be. It has a film grain texture, in a way, which is very, very important in replicating theatrical experience. And I think it's impossible, obviously, to recreate completely the experience of watching a film in a movie theater. Yet, I really firmly believe that Blu-ray is as close as you're going to get to reliving that experience.
How do you feel about the ability that we have now to alter classic films from their original formats for something like Blu-ray?
Well, I mean, there's always, I feel, what's really important is to present the films the original format, the right aspect ratio, size of the screen, as best as you can get to the color, the original version of the color that the cinematographer is still available, that sort of thing, the sound. But I took advantage of the capabilities that were offered by these new technologies that I probably didn't have at the time, and this was Taxi Driver, because it turned out that Bernard Herrmann recorded the score of the film in stereo. But at that time, I mean, that type of picture was just not being released in stereo. It was mono, and it was mixed mono. We mixed it in 5 days, and you know, a wonderful original stereo score. And for the original version of the DVD, we created a new score. I mean, we created a new soundtrack that I helped supervise of the stereo music, balanced with the dialogue track. But here's the thing: when I went in to check on the transition to this new format, I found that the dialogue was hidden behind, in my ear, to my ear, the dialogue was hidden behind the music. So that was the key thing. I brought all the dialogue back to the center track and brought it up front. I remember doing that.
Sure.
So that I felt that it was balanced properly. I mean, I feel if you're going to do that and you're going to present it a certain way, and people are now used to sound in their homes, I'm even used to it, the sound comes left, right, behind you, and that sort of thing. For a classic film that is not necessarily exactly how it was done, but if you also have available the original mono track on the DVD, on the Blu-ray, I mean, this is, for me, this is something that's totally valid. We also have to remember that many films were released in what was called, do you remember, there were versions of stereo back 40, 50 years ago, maybe more.
Correct.
Certainly when I was a film goer back in the late 40s, early 50s, Prospector sound. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
That was called Made in Prospector sound. And also the very early stereo tracks, which still exist in many of the classic films, where, you know, your person comes in the right of frame, you hear them on the right of frame. Person goes across the frame, you hear them going across the frame out the left. You know,
Sure.
It's very crude and everything, but it was stereo. It was stereo. And therefore, you know, if we can enhance that a little bit to make that smoother on a Blu-ray, it's totally valid. I mean, musicals like A Star Is Born and so many others had that stereo, had those stereo tracks. But Prospector sound goes all the way back to, I think, in the 40s, if I'm not mistaken. I may be wrong there. But pictures like Shane, I think, was in Prospector sound, and many others.
Do you have a favorite movie that you watch on Blu-ray, one that you watch over and over again? For someone who has thousands of films in their collection, I imagine that would be difficult to come up with.
It is hard. It is hard. I mean, I like The Searchers. The Blu-ray of that is quite beautiful. It's quite beautiful. It's one of those things. The Blu-ray makes it so, you know, don't forget that film was shot in VistaVision.
Correct.
And the Blu-ray of that picture, there's something about it when you just put it on just to check it out. You can't take it off. It just keeps. There's something about the beauty of the landscape and the nature of the faces and the elegy that it is in John Ford's work that still holds up, and it's still very moving. There are others too, but that's the one that comes to mind.
I'd like to thank you for taking the time out of your schedule today to join us here today, and we really appreciate you and what you had to say.
Thank you, Billy. Thank you.
Now, let me tell you something. Martin Scorsese was so amazing. Our basically one of our producers, Serafina, with a broken rib, her ribs stopped hurting after he spoke. Now, you probably don't know the gentleman who was interviewing Martin Scorsese. He is Grover Crisp, and the reason you might be curious about him is he deals with archival restoration at Sony, which means he has the keys to one of the greatest collections of movies out there, and he is responsible for turning them into amazing Blu-rays. Let's hear what he had to say about restoring classics and dealing with more contemporary films.
All right, right now we're talking with Grover Crisp. He basically runs film restoration and actually all the transfers. You're basically responsible for everything coming out of Sony for Blu-rays.
Correct. In my department, we do the mastering for all the new titles as well as all the library titles for Blu-ray.
Now, you were just talking with a panel with Martin Scorsese. A big part of that was film restoration. And
capturing the authenticity of a transfer. You mentioned Dr. Strangelove and being able to see the strings in the Blu-ray transfers, the 4K transfers.
Yeah.
How do you approach when you're moving into? We've never had the kind of fidelity we can get out of Blu-ray, the resolution, the clarity. How do you approach decisions about whether or not to modify the film before it goes on the Blu-ray?
The blessing and the curse of high definition is that it is pretty unforgiving in terms of what you see. You can see everything. We take a fairly cautious approach at our shop, so to speak, in terms of how we handle every film, whether it's soft or grainy or dirty or has scratches. We try to only remove those things that shouldn't be there, and take a fairly authentic approach, I hope anyway, to trying to present these titles on Blu-ray as close as possible to the experience that would have been in a theater.
Is the bigger challenge finding a quality print or a negative, or maybe dealing with some of the film stock quality that was shot on in the 80s? It seems like there's so many the challenges just change so much.
Those are always challenges, yes. The older the film, the more difficult the project will probably be, because there probably will not be much that survives that's original. Dr. Strangelove is a well-documented case of that situation where there was no original negative. But as we work on films from the 30s and 40s, for example, it's really a kind of you take as many different kinds of elements, source elements that you can, and basically mix and match them to come up with one best element, and then start all over from there when we get it into another digital domain to do the cleanup and whatever else we may need to do to it to make it look as seamless as possible.
On behalf of everybody out there, thank you so much for taking that time.
Okay, thank you.
It's awesome.
Oh my goodness, it was a treat to talk to Mr. Crisp, and obviously here in Scorsese Speak,
arguably one of the most beloved directors and content producers, at least at this show, but probably in the world.
Yeah, and also an absolute cinema geek. Oh my goodness, the man! I think he's seen everything from like the 30s and 40s on.
One of my favorite comments Scorsese made was that Blu-ray really can do something for that old movie and make it new again, and really bring young viewers into the experience.
Because it's not this ratty, sawed apart, knitted back together thing that was showing up on the UHF channels.
With the correct aspect ratio too. That's the other thing that Blu-ray really offers.
Especially for some of the cinema stuff. All right, look, we're going to stop geeking out. We just want to say it was a pleasure to listen to Mr. Scorsese. We want to thank Mr. Crisp for taking the time to talk to us. Right now, though, when we come back, obviously, we're going to bring you the Blu-ray releases for the week of November 10th, 2009. Right now, though, let's take a moment to thank one of our sponsors who help us bring HD Nation to you.
Get reliable, secure web hosting without a long-term contract. GoDaddy's hosting plans are bigger and better than ever with 99% uptime, free 24/7 support, and no annual commitment. GoDaddy.com makes it easy to customize your own virtual dedicated server. Choose one of 3 popular plans or select your own Linux or Windows server with all the plan options you need. Use the code HDN2 to get $5 off any order of $30 or more. Some restrictions do apply. See the site for details, and be sure to check out revision3.com/GoDaddy for all the HD Nation GoDaddy deals and codes. Do us a favor, get your piece of the internet at GoDaddy.com and use an HDN code when you do. You'll be helping us out.
The Blu-ray releases for the week of November 10th, 2009. Well, here they are.
If you're a Pixar fan, the Blu-ray releases for the week of November 10th, 2009 will bring you a big bucket of Happy. Up and Monsters, Inc. are now on Blu-ray. Up has a whole 50-gigabyte Blu-ray disc to itself, and to summarize the reviews at High Def Disc News and HighDefDigest.com, it is flat out gorgeous with an unbelievable 5.1 surround soundtrack. There's also a DVD version of the movie for use in the car, a digital copy for iTunes or Windows Media, and an entire disc worth of bonus content. Thumbs up for that one. Watchmen, The Ultimate Cut, takes the flawless video from Watchmen Director's Cut. It's one of our favorite demonstrate your home theater discs, and cuts in the Tales of the Black Freighter cartoon to complete the Watchmen comic book experience. In case you haven't had enough Watchmen releases this year, there was also the Watchmen complete motion comic earlier this year. I'm good with the length of the Director's Cut for now. Godzilla, the 1998 Sony version, features a lot of records and proves that Jean Reno's awesomeness is irrepressible. If you're looking for the black and white classic on Blu-ray, search for Gojira. Also coming out this week, Michael Mann's Heat, which pitches Al Pacino against Robert De Niro on opposite sides of the law. The 1976 sci-fi extravaganza Logan's Run. 1987's Near Dark gathered great reviews and is here just in time for the current vampire craze. There was also The Negotiator, Red Heat, Spread, The Ugly Truth, The Echo, and The Killers, live from the Royal Albert Hall.
Coming up next, we're going to show you Panasonic's latest 3D display technology. But first, we need to thank one of our sponsors.
Let's take a moment to thank one of our sponsors, Squarespace. If you're thinking of starting a new website or improving the one you already have, check out squarespace.com, the online service that can help anyone build a great-looking professional website. And now you can manage your entire Squarespace website on the go with the new Squarespace iPhone application. Post and edit entries, manage content, save drafts, preview your updates, and more, all directly from your iPhone. Snap a photo with your phone and upload it directly to your Squarespace site instantaneously. Want to check on the view counts? The iPhone app has all the stats available: unique visits, page views, popular search terms, RSS subscribers, and the top referrers, all right there under the Stats tab. So even if you're not at your desk, you can keep your website up to date. All you need is your iPhone. And if you're just starting out with Squarespace, be sure to use the code HDNation when you check out, and you'll get 10% off the lifetime of your order. So what are you waiting for? Start building the website of your dreams without the hassle at squarespace.com.
So one of the interesting panels I saw there, and I'm going to grab my cheat sheet so I get the name right. Network services building a bridge to Blu-ray, right? But this is Blu-Con. It's a Blu-ray festival. So we had Blockbuster, Roxio Cinema Now Group, Netflix, and a rep from Sony Electronics talking about the PS3. Yeah. And how these come together into the phone. And it was really interesting to listen to these guys talk, partially because they all acknowledged that, look, they may do HD, but it doesn't compare. At best, it's 4 megabit per second versus 20 megabit per second plus. It's available on the Blu-ray disc. But they're all really excited about their streaming services showing up inside of set-top boxes, especially Blu-ray players. The idea that they're enabling a total center. And I thought it was interesting that they also said, look, streaming services, we're not for people who are into the ultimate cinematic quality in their home theater. We're about people who want to watch a movie without getting up off of the couch.
Totally. And of course, they love it because it's a brand new revenue stream for them that they're predicting is going to continue growing. And arguably, that's one of the reasons that DVD sales are on the decline now, is because there is something. A digital download can replace that.
Yeah, no doubt. Blockbuster, obviously not getting into the stores anytime soon. The guys from Netflix are like, look, we expect to keep doing, discs until 2030 at least. That's part of their business model. But they also said, it was interesting for Netflix subscribers, they said they've gone from 22% to 44% of their subscribers are now streaming movies online, and they all want more access, and they all had complaints, basically, or very gentle intimations that it is almost impossible to get the best quality masters out of the studio to deliver the best quality streaming. He said that the general consensus is that streaming is always going to be a little bit behind the best that the studios have to offer. So studios have Blu-ray, they have DVD quality or slightly better. Studios have DVD quality, they were forced to be VHS quality.
For the foreseeable future, Blu-ray media and Blu-ray movies that are encoded properly are going to be the finest way to show off a new high-def 1080p screen. Yeah. That is the gold standard for whatever you're going to see on your
Or assuming, of course, you don't have access to a full digital theater somewhere here in Hollywood because you roll that way. All right, enough streaming media. You have or have not found the future of Blu-ray?
Well, a possible future is going to be 3D technology. And Panasonic has their full 3D HD truck out back. I think I said that right. And I had a chance to take a tour of it, and I have this to show you. I'm here at the Panasonic Full HD 3D demonstration trailer right behind me. And joining me is Dan Renfro. He's field manager for the Panasonic booth. Dan, Can you tell me a little bit about the technology behind me?
Absolutely. What you're looking at behind you is the full HD 3D truck tour. This is the West Coast tour that we're out here at the Blu-Con event today. Just real excited showing off our goods inside, so to speak.
Now, Panasonic's known for their plasma technology. Why are they using that and developing 3D technology using that panel?
Sure. Plasma is a great avenue and what we feel is the best avenue for the 3D technology, specifically for what we're showing because of the refresh rate of plasmas versus other types of TVs, say LCDs or front panel projectors. The refresh rate of the plasmas are roughly 4 times higher than that of an LCD screen. So what that allows us to do is create a lot smoother and fluid motion than, say, with an LCD or a front panel.
Then you're talking about the excellent pixel performance, I take it.
Right.
Now, these are 1080p panels?
Yes, sir.
And what kind of speed are you delivering to each eye? What sort of resolution and quality?
So it's a full 1080p panel, and through the use of the active shutter glasses, the 3D Blu-ray player, and then the 3D plasma set, they actually work together as a system to deliver double that resolution to your eyes. So you're getting 1080p full HD to each eye at the same time.
Very good. Now, is it compatible with current gear, or is it like is it going to require a special player as well?
It's new technology. It is backwards compatible in that the 3D TVs will also be 2D compatible. They will play 2D footage. However, to get something in 3D, it will have to be made for 3D.
Good deal. Any chance you can talk about pricing or availability yet? Or
I wish I could. If I knew, I would definitely fill you in. But at this point, that's sort of the big question mark, which I'm sure will be answered in the next couple months.
So probably not for the Christmas season then?
You're not going to get it for this. The set launch date for everything that you saw in the truck today was for spring of 2010.
Terrific. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Appreciate it.
Okay, so let me guess. None of this is going to work on my current system.
Of course not. You're going to need a new TV, a new Blu-ray player, and content authored in 3D on Blu-ray format.
I'm not going to hold my breath at getting Mrs. Norton to sign off on that purchase right now, though I do have to get you to sign off on this episode of HD Nation, or we're going to miss our plane.
We need to go.
All right, we want to thank everybody at Blue-Con. Blue-Con.com is the website. 2.0 is the air. We hope they invite us back for 3.0 next year. I'm Patrick Norton.
I'm Robert Harris.
We'll see you next week on HD Nation. And if you haven't seen us before, go to revision3.com/HD Nation to find more episodes.
Yeah.
Before we wrap up, one last thing. You're all out there on Twitter, Craigslist, IMing each other all day, and they're watching and reading. Who? The Instant Messengers, and Revision 3 has them. Premiering on November 11th is the most daring show Revision 3 has ever released, Instant Messages, and you have to see it to believe it. Don't miss this new show. It'll forever change the way you look at the internet. Every Friday at revision3.com/instantmessages.